All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are at the Georgetown Tea House, a place where we have conversations about life, about our beliefs, about God, about the everyday. With me this evening, we have Samantha, Cleon, Randy, and Tyrone. Good evening, one and all. Now, before we get rolling with this evening's topic, which is, we're looking at the whole issue of transactional marriages, the visa wedding. I have to reach out to Randy. Now, last week we were talking, some old wives' tale and some, things about the unexplained. And Randy had a grandmother's remedy with regard to nail stick. So Randy gave me the story right after we exited the broadcast. Randy, your grandmother wants to give you a unique remedy for a nail stick. Please quickly tell our audience how your grandmother helped you get rid of a nail stick.
Oh yes, well, Granny always Granny knows best, huh? So one day I was running behind Granny's sheep. Grew up with a lot of sheep, so I was running behind Granny's sheep, and I jump a small drain and I land on a nail. Now picture me going um the foot that is landing first is going on the nail, so you can imagine what's happening there, and the nail is
Wow.
right up. So
Hmm.
yeah, I have to give you the most gruesome way. And
Hmm.
just after that, Granny didn't really take me to the health center. Well, I mean, she took me after, but they hadn't no vaccine. Well, they didn't give me any vaccine. What Granny did, they had this old, well, long ago they had the drill. I don't know if you ever heard about the money, the long ago money, the drill. It was
Hmm.
very, very large compared to the coins that
Jill,
we have.
yeah, the Jill.
Right. And um it was the copper one, the one that's made with copper.
Hmm.
And so Granny put that copper drill or jill on the nail bore, slice a banana, put it over the coin, and then strap my foot. And you better believe it. In a couple of hours, I was walking strong and good. The next day, I went to school. Just
All
imagine
right.
that.
So you heard it, guys. For nail
Simple
stick,
as that.
uh, a Jill coin and banana. And our
Any
brother
copper
Ty,
coin, copper,
our,
any copper.
our, any copper coin.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
in Tyrone's case, Tyrone had an insect. Tell us about the insect, Tyrone, that you used to cure your nail stick.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Is everyone hear me?
Yeah, yeah, we're hearing you.
Yeah, I think I saw my mom and my grandma did to my brothers. Whenever they had a nail stick, or we call a nail bore, especially at night, they would just take a cockroach and they would say half kill the cockroach and then strap the cockroach over the wound and then strap it and they will leave it there overnight. And I can tell you, I normally will hear my brothers groaning with pain and so on, and the next morning they're good to go again as if nothing ever happened. So I don't know where these people really basically got their science from, but it worked from what I remember. It worked well.
Tell me about it, bro. Tell me about it.
Half killed cockroach. That's a very interesting remark there.
Yup.
Uh, all right. So this evening we are looking at the issue of uh, visa weddings. So please like, share our broadcast, call a friend, text a friend, tell them the Georgetown Tea House is open, and we've got another great conversation for you. All right? Please like and share, and we'll be back with you shortly.
Examine any profound event in the Bible or in the history of Christianity, and one is sure to recognize the consistently pivotal role of conversational interactions. We see this at play in Genesis, the first book, where through a series of conversations we witness the fall of our species and the expulsion from the Garden of Eden. The conversation between God and man, the conversation between man and woman, the conversation between the woman and the devil, and so on. At the Georgetown Tea House, we know the great importance and pivotal role that conversations often play in our lives on this earth. And thus, we will seek to engage in the types of conversations that are insightful, stimulating, and thought-provoking. And yes, occasionally, a trifle boring. Our hope is that with each visit to the tea house, we can become better aware of who we are, of our relationship with God, and where we stand with each other and the rest of humankind. And yes, through it all, there will be music. For music, it had been written, is the food of love, and God is love. Join us every Monday evening on Facebook and YouTube Live for conversations at the Georgetown Tea House, a Gospel Side of Me production. Please, do bring along a cup of tea or a glass of your favorite juice.
All right. Good evening again. And we're on to the subject of the visa wedding. Now, before we get into the meat of the conversation, let's back up a little and let's talk about marriage and, you know, have some sense of a definition. Um, Tyrone, do the honors for us, and from a Christian perspective, tell us briefly what marriage means in the sight of God.
Well, from my understanding, and from discussions and stuff that I've read, I think one of the definitions of marriage from God's perspective, it is a covenant. It's a covenant of a union relationship between a man and a woman that has some legal and social implications. And it's more has a lot of spiritual influence that is involved. So in the sight of God, it's a covenant relationship between a man and a woman who promise each other, committed themselves to each other to remain faithful to each other in a relationship.
Okay. Um, Anything you want to add to that, Samantha, as the sole female on our panel?
Well, I always see, and in my research, I continue to contend that marriage is one of the founding pillars of any society, and that has its foundation in the book of Genesis when God placed Adam and Eve together and handed them their mandate to be together and to populate the earth. And I always say that the kinds of marriages that a society has determine the quality of that society. And some people usually go after me to debate that, single families or families that have gone through the single state, they still have very good structures. But I always see and I believe that the kind of marriages that exist in a society tells the kind of society in which we exist.
Okay, great. Thank you, dear Samantha. Let's move on. Brother Cleon, now we know, I mean, it's no understatement to say that life is hard, you know. Most of us weren't born with gold spoons, hanging out our mouths, and so we've had to struggle. And sometimes, we got to make some decisions that, may not be quite in keeping with what we believe and how we see things. As you look at your own life, Cleon, under what kind of circumstance do you think you would be led to get you would have been led to get married to someone who you didn't love, had no intentions of living a life with, but they were going to get you to England to Toronto or to New York. Can you think of a circumstance under which Cleon would have made a decision there?
No, sir. They don't, they don't have a circumstance, my friend. Absolutely none. Even before I became a Christian, I have known of persons who would have done that, and I didn't see it being right. And now that I am a Christian, worse yet, I can't see it making any sense. Like I would usually say on the program, even before I became a believer of Jesus Christ, there's certain things that I would have seen from a cultural perspective based on how I was socialized that it didn't make any sense, and it had nothing to do with whether you believe God is going to judge you for it or not. But I don't think you should invest in somebody that you're not going to be honest with, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's a bit shady.
All right.
Not for what they call the alleged better life, because I've known of persons who did not marry for a green card or whatever the case may be, but they got married and they go to the place where they think it's much better than where they were, and they ain't no better. So worse yet, if you doing it just to get the card and you don't get the
Okay.
card yet, ain't no
All
good.
right. What about you, Randy? Can you think of any kind of circumstance under which you would have been married
Um,
for a green
like
card?
I mean, like Cleon, I don't see any circumstance in which I would do such. Um, I would have grown up in the church from a tender age under the stewardship of my grandmother. So I was always taught and led to believe that marriage, of course, like Samantha would have said, is between a husband and a man and a woman, and
Mm-hmm.
also it indeed forms the foundation of society and so on. So I always had that in mind, and
Mm-hmm.
even when I became independent um, in my later teens, I mean, I had many options of the sort, but I've never been in a relationship with somebody that I don't love. I've never, and I never ever tried to go into a relationship just for opportunity's sake, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I really don't see anything that would cause me to what I mean, push me to get into marriage for a green card or for some opportunity to go overseas or whatever. I always um was of the belief that I probably would have gotten there somehow, somewhere, because most of my
Mm-hmm.
family were overseas and so on. So that was
Right.
always in the picture. And even to this age, and even though I go and I come, I still don't really see myself living over there as some people would. You know what I'm saying? So at this
Mm-hmm.
point, it don't really I mean, I can't think of anything that would push me to go. I often say to my wife that well, sooner or later I will have to go. And I will say to her, man, I will ask her, I said, you would want to go over there and live. And she would
Mm-hmm.
sometimes say to me, maybe to give the children the opportunity and all of these things. But
Right.
I like my good old Guyana and the freedom here. So if I'm at this point and still can't see anything that will cause me to want to go there, um,
Mm-hmm.
there's not really anything that I can put my finger on per se.
Okay.
Can't do it.
Can do it. Can do it. All right.
I can't do it.
Okay. I will present a situation that it's real, but we will use ourselves to bring out the example. But this is a real situation. So Tyrone, you're living in Toronto, and you've known Randy a while. Um, you know he's talented, and in Guyana, and he's not getting the opportunities to use his skills fully. And he calls you up a day and he says, Randy, you know anybody, any good Christian girl that I could marry? I'm willing to pay her 10,000 to, you know, to form things up. How do you respond to a brother, a Christian brother, in an instance like that, brother Tara?
Um, I think the idea of the green card visa wedding to me is not a cut and dry yes or no response.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm being very serious about that. I look at it in the light of something similar to arranged marriages. And if we are very honest, each of us we marry for opportunity, some opportunity of some sort, whether it's to share what we have, to share love, an opportunity to share love, an opportunity to get to know the person. We all marry for some opportunity. It might not be visa, it might not be going to the States, might not, but some opportunity exists so that we could have gotten married to the person. So to that individual, in terms of using their talents and whatever it is. I mean, I would sit down and have a conversation and ask them where their mind really is.
Mm-hmm.
And I would I would also help them to find a young woman, a Christian woman who
Mm-hmm.
who 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 is willing to go down that route. And I tell you why, because I have no idea how God works in various situations. God can take what we may seem as the worst or a bad situation
Mm-hmm.
and make the good out of it. And I asked a friend of mine a question today, and the question is: how many persons who marry, actually love the person? The two people love each other at the beginning. It's either
Oh,
one person love, and then the
mm-hmm.
other person grow to love. And so
Oh,
this could be a situation where the wedding, yes, it's also visa, yes, but as they live together, there is a possibility that they can grow to love each other. And there might be situations where that actually happens. So that's why I say it's not a cut and dry yes and no response. Yes and no response for me.
mm-hmm.
Because one
Okay,
person love first, and the
right.
other person basically grows into love.
Okay.
Anansi,
Go ahead.
I would just, I don't know about the marriage for opportunity. Now, while I agree with what Tyrant's explanation is, I don't think opportunity is the word to be used there. We it's I don't, you know what, Tyrant? Speak for yourself. I did not get married for an opportunity. I got married for stability. Two different things. Opportunity meant that I saw something was there to be had in that marriage, right? And being married for stability meant that this individual provided some tenants around which you can build your life. Two different things, huh? Because
Mhm.
opportunity means that you are going in to gain something. And while the concept means that's it, and you know how I feel about words, and while the concept may not be very far fetched in that, all right, the opportunity in marrying to this particular person is having stability in your life, it is not about the opportunity. And I agree with Tyrone as well. You know, I agree with him when he says that a relationship start, but before you get to marriage, Tyrone, I that whole issue of the love and all of those other concepts. Somebody has to see somebody and approach that somebody, male, female here, just that we make that clear, and so as to build a relationship. And by the tenants of society, usually it is the guy who would have already worked up in his head, listen, I am interested in X girl because she has X, Y, and Z qualities that I would like for myself. And then you approach that young lady. And prior to you approaching her, she may not have even considered you as a person. And so by those tenants, the relationship grow. But by the time you get to marriage, there must have been some kind of love transaction happening inside of that relationship. So on unless we are talking about a fully arranged marriage, and if we start passing money, then it's two different things. But a fully arranged marriage where this family see this girl and they, put the two people together, and eventually they set a date and they grow to love each other. And by my upbringing, I have seen that all the time in my
No, we're not talking about those marriages,
right.
Saman.
We're talking about the marriages that are strictly you getting married for
Yeah,
visa, and when you get to the
yeah.
United States, you living by your cousin, and the dude that you're married to still living at his
Well,
own
it's
home.
possible we could also live together, but it's a business transaction. So, Cleon, I asked Tyrone the question. Your good brother reached out to you. You living in Toronto, and Randy, Randy could do
He's
better for
struggling.
himself. If
He's
if
struggling.
yeah, he's struggling, as you might say. He's
Hmm.
struggling bad in GT there, right? And Samantha's living in Toronto too. Would you hook up
Hmm.
would you hook up Randy even though you don't necessarily believe in this visa wedding thing?
No, sir. And the reason why I continue to say no,
So wait,
is
you're gonna tell Randy a big blunt no?
I'm
Why
gonna
not?
tell Randy, if God want him to go and live in Canada, God will make a way. The reason why I don't believe in, as Christians, you should be involved in this visa opportunity marriage is because you are not making a commitment to that person. The
Mhm,
commitment is to the tangible, alleged receipt that you will get at the end of the day, which is your green card or your passport, which sometimes never ever happens for a lot of people who sometimes they do it with their own family or they're so dirty just to go overseas.
mhm,
Me, I said to myself, not me, Papa. And I am not going to encourage anybody because if he can provide for you in the desert, America or Canada or any of these alleged first world countries, it's
mhm,
not a bed of roses. I've been there. I've seen how they live. I've seen how they live. I wouldn't call some of the places the little rat holes in some of the states, but that's what I call them, rat holes, but I would not live there. But like I said, if someone comes to me as a friend and asks, I will simply say to them, for me, honestly, I don't think this is the route that you should be going. Firstly, if you are a Christian.
mhm,
If you're not a Christian and you come and you ask me, the same way I will be saying to you, well, why do you feel that this is the route that is going to be beneficial to you? Let's talk about some other ways that you can do this. You can get to the to Canada, the UK, or wherever it is, without
mhm,
even trying to spend all of that money to on a premise hoping that this person is going to stick to the end of the bargain. What about if you now end up going with this person and you're a sex trafficker and the person have man pouncing you in the night? You
mhm.
don't know. So guess what? If you like your boomsy, you like your friends, stay by yourself. It might be hard, but guess what? If you try 10 times at the US Embassy, you sure will get the visa. Just get the right criteria and you will get the visa. That's what I tell people. People say to me, but you have so many, you went to the embassy and you didn't have no trouble. I say, if you people ask you for XYZ and you have XYZ, they will grant you. However, it doesn't guarantee you that if you have XYZ, that it
Mhm.
is your time that you will get the visa. But I honestly don't believe in for opportunity of having a green card or a passport. No, man, your life is better than that, man. It's so cheap, you're cheap.
I'm staying with you a little later, Cleon. So, do you think there is any okay, as Christians want, as a Christian one is supposed to be, charitable. And you have a friend in Guyana, her husband beats her at least once a week. Um, I mean, not her husband, her common law husband. They're not married. She's in a common law situation, and she gets blows once a week. He doesn't really provide much for the children. All right, she's a registered nurse, so she's in a profession where she can come to Toronto, come to London, England, and be gainfully employed. You are in a position to assist. You don't want anything from her, right? But you see her plight and you're in a position to assist. Won't you still won't assist under those circumstances?
Me personally, I will assist her. Guess how? She will apply for one of the work permit that allows skilled nationals. There are lots of things that people are eligible for that are qualified Caribbean persons, and they are blinded because they only thinking the only way is through the illegal route. There are
Mhm.
persons who are nurses, doctors, lawyers, engineers. And right now, Canada, for those who are listening to us on the World Wide Web, Canada is looking for skilled professionals. So if you're thinking about migrating, check on the Canadian Embassy website, check on the UK website, check on the US Embassy website. They are these countries that are looking for skilled nationals. You don't need to go and tie yourself up with somebody. Go in and invest money that you're not guaranteed. And that is what I always say to people. When you're doing them sort of stuff, you're gambling with your life.
A ten
And you're
thousand dollar
gambling.
gambler.
No, because a lot of people do them things and you never see them again. They're in some hole, some house lock up, people raping them, people doing, and this is Christian people to it happening to.
Mhm.
And so therefore, I would not even, and worse yet, as a professional person, and you want to escape that route, it's always best to go through the profession, the correct channels. Don't sell yourself that short. You're not that cheap.
All right, I hear you. I hear you, Cleon. Give us a female perspective here, Samantha. I'm sure you would have spoken to a few of your female friends over time. Have you encountered a situation or a number of situations where, even though you may not quite agree with the premise, you would say that in this instance or in these few instances that it was okay for the person to go this route and be married to have a visa wedding?
I I do not see a situation where it is right to be married or have a paid marriage. Because I need to be clear about the transactional marriage where we have money involved.
Mm-hmm.
But I have had friends on both sides of the spectrum. I know
Mm-hmm.
of a young lady that got married to go to the States through a hookup of an auntie of a cousin of a friend somewhere along the line. And she got married to go to the United States. To say the least, her experience there was not a very pretty one, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was not a very pretty experience. And I also know of a young lady who turned down such an opportunity, and her family chastised her for making that choice because they saw her as a ticket out for everyone else because they're
Mm-hmm.
saying, oh, when you get married to this guy and you go and you settle, then you could send for your sister and you could send for, and they had already mapped it out. But the
Mm-hmm.
sad experience in all of this was the young lady who did go and how she was treated. Some of the things that Cleon alluded to, because even as a budding professional, she was not able to pursue a career as she had envisioned. And that went
Mm-hmm.
on for a very, very long time until, she made the decision to return back to Guyana. And that was like an escape. So it wasn't pick up a passport and leave and go back to Guyana. It was like a high risk maneuver to get out of the whole experience and leave. And so, as
Mm-hmm.
a female, I will not encourage any of my friends to be involved in a transactional marriage. Yes, as Tyron said, a guy may approach you along the way. I would allow something to grow out of that, but I will not encourage you to be involved in a transactional marriage. And even in my situation, I will not propose to any of my friends that, you know what, why not try a transactional marriage to get yourself out of any particular situation that you may
Right.
find yourself in at this time.
All right. Thank you so much. You're watching, you here, you've joined us. This is the Georgetown Tea House. We'd like you to thank you for coming aboard. Please continue to like and share the broadcast, and we'll be back with you shortly.
Hey guys, this is the girl Marcel. I'm just stopping by to send out some belated birthday greetings and some birthday celebrations that is happening today and in a few days. All right. So, first up, we have our girl Debbie Alexi Craig. You know, my girl celebrated a big number. Still looking beautiful, still looking all cute. So happy birthday to you, Debbie. Sharon Trim Williams, she also celebrated her birthday this last week. Jerica Bell, my cousin, Miriam Carlett. Carlett has spent a few Monday nights with us at the tea house. Lenny Waldron, Maria Martindale, my friend from Canada. She's always hanging with us. Dale Hardy. Now he had a special week. He celebrated twice over. So congratulations and happy birthday, Dale. My cousin Marlene Sullivan, she's celebrating her birthday today. So happy birthday, Marlene. And the two that you have to look out for, the big ones with the guys on the panel tonight, Randy Mingo is celebrating his birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Randy, in advance. And make sure you Tea House folks are really making him feel special, all right? And then on Wednesday, Cleon Cadogan, that big one, yes, that big Cleon is celebrating his birthday on Wednesday the 4th, all right? So make sure you're making these guys feel special. Love you all. Do enjoy the rest of the conversation, all right? Bye.
All right, that one was for the birthday, folks. Randy, please tell us in minutes and hours, how old are you again?
376,680 hours old.
All right, that's Randy for you. If you wanna figure out Randy's
Yes,
exact
do your
age,
conversion.
do,
Do
get
your
out your
conversion.
calculator and
Yes.
do your conversion.
376,680 hours. I'm that old.
He, he's that old. Samantha, quickly before we go on, do you know anything about Scorpio men? Would you say they're nice and decent men?
I don't know anything about any men on any part of any spectrum as it relates to anything for any signs. Because as far as I'm concerned, and the guys are going to come for me, men are men. So whether they are born in January, February, March, April, May, same thing.
Yeah, but I like the
I
part
like
where
that.
she said that. Yes, but I like the part that she says she doesn't know, but I'm gonna speak for her. And Scorpios are the best. Hands down, hands down, hands down.
Self-praise is
We are
no
the
good
best. No, no,
recommendation.
no, 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 no. We're the best. Hands down, hands down.
You hear that, folks? Randy is giving it up. Randy is saying that
Yes.
Scorpio man. Lovely Lauren is saying, Lovely Lauren made a calculation there, Randy. She's saying, in other words, the old Randy.
Yes, but how old?
All right.
About 42 or thereabouts.
All right. We we're talking about the situation with the visa wedding. All right. Um, Tyrone, looking at it purely from a Christian perspective, and seeing that this is it's a transaction, and essentially in this transaction, one will have to go to the altar and essentially lie because you're not really doing this in the way that God essentially would have seen it. All right. is it an act in your mind that would be forgiven, should be forgiven, could be forgiven under certain circumstances?
The God I serve can take any wrong decision that we have made and work his way in it for our benefit, for our purpose, and for his glory. And that is why I said earlier, when you asked the first question, that I'm not going to put it off the table because the bottom line says, bottom line, you said that I'm looking for a good Christian woman.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a possibility that by the time I'm finished talking to Randy and the woman, the transaction of $10,000 might go to the window because I'm talking to a good Christian woman. So
Mm-hmm.
and that's the point I'm making, what we may see as a barrier, God sees as opportunity to do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at the biblical marriages, while they might not have been stuff for visa wedding and so on and all the rest of it, these men just say, in fact, the father just sent the servants, saw the woman, asked the woman if she's going to come and marry the son, and the woman, without even seeing Isaac, made a decision that she's going to go and marry. And the commitment that she made to go and marry to Isaac without even seeing who he is, and Isaac without even seeing who she was, they married. And the marriage lasted. And there's a reason why God allowed those things to happen. And I'm saying here that we need to look at this thing from an open mind perspective. Yes, it may not be the right thing. It may not be the most appropriate thing. However, we have no idea how God can work through whatever it is. And I don't see any difference in Randy staying in Guyana and making that connection, and somebody on a visa going to the States, want to get their permanent status, decide they're going to marry somebody in the States while they're in the States. And I'm saying again, there is the possibility that God can bring something good out of what we may see as the worst situation.
Cleon, how will you respond to that?
I'll stop there for now.
May I say, Tyrone's explanation of the biblical context, that was the culture, that was the norm, that was their tradition. We are speaking about something that the law forbids. Because if they find out that that is the premise that you try to get into the country, you can be charged. However, if I do agree with him, if it is that Tom is going to be connected to Susan without the notion of money being involved, that is a whole different case. Because I'm putting two people together that are interested in knowing one another because they're of the same religious persuasion, and they're living in two separate parts of the world. Tom is not thinking, oh, because Deborah living in France, that means I can get a purple book and I can travel the world. Tom is only studying. Deborah's living in France. Tyrone has connected me to Deborah because Deborah is looking for a Christian person who she can be able to build a relationship. Deborah is not looking for a Christian man who only want to marry she because he want to come to Paris and see the Eiffel Tower and then disappear from she and leave she stranded. No. Two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Me, I still hold fast to the belief that If two people would like me to connect them, fine, I will connect you, but not on the premise of exchange of money, because I am not going to be held as an upholder of your nonsense. I afraid the police. Before the police even see me, I afraid the police. That's just me. So I do agree with some things that Tyrone is saying based on the context and the perspective that he brings forward, but I still will not agree that a Christian person who has a relationship with Jesus Christ should ever think that the God that they serve is not capable of changing the situation and would cause them to go and break the law of the land. Because when, like you said, Nancy, when you go before the priest or the pastor, whoever it is a commitment you are making in the presence of these witnesses before with yourself and the other person and God. But you can't make that, it wouldn't be a true commitment, because the commitment is not between God, the person, and yourself. The commitment is between you and your money where you're paying for your green card and your green card that you expect to get at the end of the day.
Right.
It was
And
never
Uncle Sam,
commitment between the person. That's just how I feel. And I don't feel whether it is male or female, you should do that to somebody. Or you should allow somebody to do that to you. So if you're thinking about it, cut it out.
No, if I may say something here, if I may, I think I'm being misunderstood. Let me be clear what I'm saying.
Go ahead, Tyrone.
The initial premise is money. Now, if I turn Randy down without connecting him to the person, there is no way that I am going to know Randy or the person going to know what will happen. So the initial premise is money. But when I put Randy in connection with the Christian young girl, they too can decide thereafter what happens. But to shut down the situation immediately without even connecting the two, I think it's kind of thinking in the box, so to speak. So for me,
let me jump in.
Wait a minute. For me, if I'm going to look for a Christian girl for Randy, I will put everything on the table. This is the young man's situation. This is what he's saying. This is what he wants. And I am going to basically say, you know what? I'm going to connect him to you. So the woman now, that Christian woman, a Christian value now, she has to make the decision. But the thing, what I'm saying is this, is that if I shut down that proposal from Randy immediately, I don't know what opportunity I would have shut down there. Because at the end of the day, though the initial premise can be the $10,000, by the time they're finished talking, it can change to $0. But if I shut it down immediately, there's no way it's going to change to $0. And that's the point I'm making.
All right, Tyrone, let me jump in here.
Tyrone is essentially saying it's about matchmaking, right? And,
No, but then again...
Okay, go ahead, Randy.
Let me make it politically clear for us. I ain't setting up nobody. That's the first thing I want you. I am not setting up anybody for any relationship, whether far or near. That's the first thing I'm going to say, right? And for if I should do that, and things go sour, then you're going to hear I set you up with a monster and all of these other stuff. I don't want to be involved. I'll introduce you to somebody, and you two work your salvation out. You understand me? Now, when it comes to this money thing now, if you are my friend and you tell me that you're looking for a young lady to marry to get a green card, I ain't setting you up. I ain't even entertaining it because you ain't get no good. Your only intention is to get a green card to go over there. And for me to put a young lady that I know in a position like that, knowing, yes, Tyron, it might be a possibility that the guy might end up loving the woman. What if it doesn't turn out that way? What if, you understand me? The thing is, people going into those situations where you're paying to have these sort of marriages to get a visa and whatever, you're oftentimes at the mercy of the person. You putting yourself in a trap. You're putting yourself in a hole. You're setting yourself up. You're vulnerable. You're setting yourself up to so many things, to be abused and all of these things. And at a click, this person can collect your money and whatever and can even dirty your dance, even though the transaction would have. I mean, for me, as a Christian individual, you can't approach me and tell me, look, you want me to hook you up with somebody nice so that you can get your green card. You can't bring the money back and I can go through it. I will not do it. Point blank. Right? I am not even waiting to see if it can turn around and the money can drop, the money tags can drop, and it might blossom into love. No, 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 no. If you want me to introduce you to one of my nice, decent Christian friends, I will do that. Come and tell me, Randy, I'm probably looking for love or something. I need a partner. I need a companionship. I need companionship in my life or something. And yes, I will introduce you to some of my nice, decent friends that I have. And like I said, you work your salvation out. But when you bring the money tag and you bring the visa tag and you bring the opportunity tag, they're on your own, bro. I'm sorry.
Randy not dealing with none of the money thing. Samantha, all right, you, Randy, and Cleon would have said, no, y'all not, you guys not compromising. You're not compromising your Christian values. You're not setting nobody up for money. All right. Samantha, let's say your mom would have happened to have been the beneficiary of a visa wedding. And then she sends for you. Would you refuse?
I I can't refuse. My mother makes her decision, and that's why salvation is personal. She made her decision, and from her decision, she's now determining how to, give her family the benefit. Maybe if my conscience get the better of me, I may want to say, well, I don't want to go because, but my mother made her decisions, and I cannot be judged for the decisions that she made. And both situations, she's making a decision. She decided to get married for opportunity, and now she's deciding to let her family benefit from that opportunity. Um,
You will accept the benefits.
yeah,
What about you, Cleon?
I go in.
yeah, I go in.
All she got to tell me is when I ready to go in the embassy, and I right there bright and early in the morning.
I go.
You know why? But if I am aware that my mother is leaving me and my other siblings to go to the States to do this, and I'm a Christian,
I
I
will be
will
tempted.
still tell her. No,
Yes.
you mightn't tell her, but my family them know me plain and straight. Try.
What are you doing?
You got to know what you're doing, because when you make your ants nest and you begin to get bite, don't call me. But if you get through, yeah, if you get through, don't forget me, right? Because if you forget me, I gonna make certain that I gonna remind you that you're still my parent. If I'm
Yeah.
of age that you could file for me and all of that. But I really don't believe, and I agree with Samantha. It is a decision that the parent has to make. But for me as an adult, if I had the opportunity to advise a person differently, I would have. And if they still went through with it, That is their choice, and they decide to send for me. My goodness, Jesus, I take him the V. I take him a stamp in my passport, and I go in.
Cleon
I
did
go in
not
and I
send him fast.
supporting them.
After we
Because
would have given them the speech
yeah,
about whether it's right, we are the bottom of the list to be considered, you know.
Tyrone,
I
you're
am
not
not at the
hearing the
bottom and no list
contradiction
to be
now
considered. Because
in
I
the
told you
responses of Samantha and Cleon, Tyrone.
They're benefiting from illegal transaction. They're accepting illegal benefits.
Right? I'm giving the stance they shouldn't, right?
Yeah, they shouldn't. They're accepting legal benefits. but I mean, the thing is, I think we need to look at this thing from a wider perspective, and we are all speaking from a Christian background, and I agree in terms of illegal stuff, but we still serve a God who, though we have the initial movement, the initial approach wrong, and we trust in God. God has a way of changing things around in a flash.
Mm-hmm.
He has a way of changing things around. And who knows, the Christian woman that I'm connecting Randy with, she's a very principled woman that she will not accept $10,000. She will not take it because you asked me to look for a nice Christian woman for him. So she's not going to take it $10,000.
Mm-hmm.
So she's going to talk, maybe she's going to talk him around it. So I'm not going to look for somebody who's materialistic that say, you know what? Hey, this is $10,000 for me. No. They asked me to look for a nice Christian principled woman, and that's what I'll find.
And that's what you find. Call
Yes.
Tyrone.
No, you
All
see the thing
right.
about it, Tyrone, in this scenario, if she do end up talking you wrong, well then the man get it for free. The motive is still the same. You want the Greek card anyhow. So you know what I mean? I mean, like I said, don't come to me and tell me that you're willing to pay to get somebody to marry you. Then your motive is already misconstrued right there and then. You know what I mean? Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you that God can turn things around, but God don't like presumptuousness either.
Can,
You
can, can I
understand
can
what I'm
I
saying?
can I throw something in the mix,
So,
Randy? Let me
yeah,
throw something
man,
in the mix,
sure.
Randy.
Hmm.
How many men go to women to go to bed with them as their pure motive?
I didn't get it. How many men go
How many
to
men go to women to
hmm
go to bed with them as their pure motive?
as a pure motive?
Yes, that's the
Behind
no,
every
no,
man's head
no,
is
that's the
sex.
that's the that's the motive. But what happens when they
Hmm.
meet the woman now? Like
No,
Samantha, who's
no,
like, wait. When they
no.
meet like Samantha, who stands for principle, their mind
Mm-hmm.
change. Everything about
Not that,
what everything about what they initially wanted changed.
hmm No, not necessarily. You see, different thing attracts men. You know what I mean. I may look at Samantha. I may not just see her sexually. I may also be drawn to her because of her educational stance, how she speaks well. I mean, how she carries herself, and all of these things. And even though I generally go behind Samantha because of all of those things, behind every man's mind is sex. But we will go along with all the others, and all the others that comes is perks to us.
That's
Now,
mean
if
that,
I
that
go, no,
that's
no,
you're
listen to me. If
deceitful.
no,
You're
listen to me. If
deceitful
I
then.
no. If I go to this, remember we going to this woman because first of all we are attracted, some sort of attraction to this woman, perhaps sexually, most times sexually. You understand me? But I'm not going to force Samantha into going against the standard. I mean, if I got to wait for it, like Jacob, and I mean, I got to wait for it and work my way for get it, I can get it because there's what I want. But along the way, I will see many other qualities that even makes me pursue her more rigorously. You know what I'm saying? So I
Same
mean,
same thing with the 10,000.
no,
You start
Tyrone.
over the 10. You start
There,
over 10,000, and
no, there
things
is nothing
change.
illegal, but there is nothing illegal. But what I'm doing.
It's morally wrong.
Hmm?
Anyway,
No, no.
that's
You
another
see,
discussion. That's another
this is
discussion.
some, this is something common in all men. I can't see a man interested in a woman, and he's not interested in her sexually. The
Yes.
Commonality
prob,
doesn't make it
the
right in
prob,
the sight of God.
listen to me. The problem comes in is if he wanted before marriage, and which you understand what I'm saying, and if she gives it before marriage, You understand what I'm saying? So I mean,
Commonality does not make it right in the sight of God, Randy.
Randy, that's another conversation,
that's
Randy.
enough.
And
Yeah, that's another
that's
program
another
all by itself.
conversation. Chef Simmons was asking, so are you guys saying that a visa wedding opportunity cannot be an answered prayer? What say you, Clea?
I say don't mix God up in your nonsense.
I
However, he is
concur. I
God and
concur.
he can do things however he chooses. But I don't think he is going to go about telling me not to do something and he's still going to do the same thing. Mm-mm. God is not going
Yeah,
to go against the laws of the land. Him
yeah,
not
and
that
I believe
corrupt. Him is
are
not
we
that corrupt.
are we limiting God to an illegal activity? I mean, that's all God is good for. I mean, that's all the power he has. That's the
Yeah.
avenue he can take. No, man. I mean, and when we think like that, it is our limited imagination, and is our um and it's us putting a limit on God's power. You understand that we can only see
Mm,
this, or see
right.
this 10,000 is the only way of getting me there, and not trusting God. We limiting ourselves. Our faith in God is halfway. We limiting the power of God and the possibility that of what He can do. So I mean to link God with a 10,000 visa opportunity, whatever. We need to trust God, and wherever He leads, sometimes God setting us up with got somebody more better than who we think can give you a green card alone. You, you
Right, right.
understand? So I mean, come on.
In response to the question, I would think differently. And I'm saying it again. The initial move may be fully human, but as you go into it, God has a way of changing our mindset, especially if we are connected to Him. Being connected to God doesn't mean that you will not make human errors. We will, but God has a way of changing it around to show us where we're wrong and to lead us in the right way. And I'm saying we might be shutting God out by taking that hard and fast rule. My initial response was at the top of the program, it's not a cut and dry yes and no answer for me, because I don't know how God is leading the person. And I asked a friend a question this morning: why did Samson go to Delilah and the others? There's a text in that story that says that Samson's parents did not know that God was seeking an occasion against the Philistines. Though Samson did it the wrong way, in his own way, God's purpose of Samson was basically to destroy the Philistines. And so, in all of Samson's decision that he made, God's purpose still came through. And so, as wrong as the $10,000 may seem to us, it's illegal. Yes, it may seem to us, but God has a way of taking our mistakes and turn it into something for His glory. And
But,
as I said
well,
before,
one quick question, Tyrone.
mhm.
Um, I get what you're saying in terms of mistake, but in a visa wedding situation, is that a mistake? Given that you deliberately, it's premeditated, you deliberately going into the
Exactly.
situation. Is that could that be considered a mistake in the sight of God?
Whether we sin deliberately or not, we serve the God who will change the situation around at His own will and time. That's the power of God we serve. Whether it's a mistake or no mistake. How many times have we sinned deliberately
Mhm.
Tyron,
and God
we
turned it around? I'm not saying, what I'm saying is this: What I'm saying is this: if you look from a Christian perspective, the initial movement may not be the right motive, but we serve a God that can change the motive of any human being. And to shut it down at an instant is not necessarily allowing God to work with the individual. Because look at it. Look at it. Let's broaden this perspective now. Randy doesn't come to me. He still has it in his mind. He goes to somebody else.
Mm.
Somebody else now who is of opinion that he should do it. And they put him on now. They put him to another female who is in for the run. And that is when Randy gets into trouble. So I may shut him down, and somebody else may accept it because he still has to do his mind that he wants to get to the US. And so if I put him onto this Christian woman now, who may guide him accordingly, because she's very principled, it is God's way of saying to Randy, this is not the right thing you should do. But to shut him down, he goes to somebody else. And the
Tyrone,
person there are a number of possibilities that we can look at.
yeah, Tyrone, why all that might be true, I still let I understand what you're saying, where God can turn situations around, where God can make a bad situation end up working out and so on, right? God allows us to go into certain situation because we have the power of choice, and when we choose, God allows us to go through it. Sometimes to teach us a lesson. To look, I know more. You know what I mean? You need to depend on me. God allows situations to happen to you. You understand me? But to say that I'm gonna start off wrong, hoping for God to fix me, when I know what is right, I mean, it doesn't pan out for me. You know what I'm saying? To me, that is
Zadia.
presumptuousness. You understand what I'm saying? Because I
Zadia.
know I have knowledge of it. You understand what I'm saying? I have knowledge of it, and I'm going into this wrong situation, and I'm hoping that God is going to fix it. Yes, God has the power to do that, but I don't think God will be pleased with you having the knowledge of knowing that this thing is not right. And
Tyrone,
yet you go.
relevant to what Randy is saying, Trevor Benjamin is asking a question here.
Mm-hmm.
I fully understand Tyrone's position. However, does that mean that we can do anything we want and God will use us anyway?
Exactly. That's the point.
Grace, and here is your misunderstanding. Grace does not allow us to do whatever we want. The point is, we are human beings subject to error and wrong choices. But that doesn't mean that we're going to do these things all the time. It does happen to us. It might not be a Visa card that we might be making that decision deliberately to do wrong. It might be other areas of our lives that we make the decision that we know that is wrong. I'm not saying that because of that you will do it. No. God's grace does not allow you to do that. If we really understand what God's grace is. And the thing is, the wrong decision that we make. No, listen to this carefully. Remember, Randy has this thing in his mind. This $10,000 thing. So it is wrong in his mind already. What if God is pointing him now to a person that will tell him the right thing?
Sin like company.
No, that's human thinking.
Sin
That's
like
human
company.
thinking.
If it's in my mind, I gotta work it out with God, bro. When you go and pull in Randy now, is now you're pulling in Randy in the scheme.
That is human thinking, Randy. What I'm saying is this:
All right, we're gonna take a short break, and we'll be back with the Georgetown Tea House. Just a short break. Well, thank you so much, folks, for staying with us. Thank you so much for the comments so far. It's been a very lively broadcast so far. All right, so we'll continue. The subject is visa wedding, and you're at the Georgetown Tea House. Cleon, I'm going to make you Samantha's brother, and and Samantha, this is the scenario. You will tell me how you would have responded, and Cleon, as her brother, her loving brother, how you would advise her. So, and here again, this is a real situation. No names and so on will be called. So, Samantha, you have been in a common law situation with this young man, and he's been looking for a job for a while. And, every now and then he will get an appointment, and, you will help him dress, wish him good luck. You guys would pray, you wish him good luck, and he'd be on his way. And then this particular day, you dress him again, short and tie, and he heads out, supposedly to go to this job interview. 2 weeks later, compliments of your cousin who works at the registry, you found out that he'd actually gone that morning and gotten married to a US based woman. What do you tell that man, Samantha, after you find that out?
Saying peace be with you. Because of my non-confrontational side of me, right? So many people see me, and because I'm plain spoken, people believe I'm confrontational. There's nothing for me to say to you but peace be with you. I may be angry in the moment, but from where I am today, like at this hour here, 9:15 p.m., my response will be peace with you, because two things can happen. I can become very angry and retaliate, and in the process I may pelt something that may take you out, and then I end up in prison, right? Or I could go and get on the bad side of life and go and find somebody to pay a small money on the side and ask them to take him out, so he never get to use that visa, because I exist in that kind of society where those things are real, right? So my initial reaction will be peace be with you. It may come with some tears, it may come with some level of frustration, but peace be with you. This was never meant to be. Moving on. Good luck.
Okay. As a Christian brother, Cleon, how would you advise your Christian sister in that situation?
Well, girl, just see it as God removing the devils from around you, because He will always open your eyes onto the truth. But further to that, while I pray for and try to console you, I just want to know if it is really an arranged marriage that he did went about. I be finding out from all lawyers how we could get a little cutback from the government on the wedding. Because he never leave the country. Him didn't even get to buy the ticket, because they would intercept him right at the airport. And so we would have get the money. Because the Americans are always looking for tip-offs. And just as how he probably had to pay how much money, and they know they're gonna get the bank transaction and everything. I just want to know those parts of the investigation. And I said, girl, don't worry yourself, Manta, don't worry. The same 10,000 where you the saving, he draw out the account for going pay she, we getting it back with a tip. Because we gonna tell the immigration what's going on. And we get back with money, plus we get tip, and we're allies with the US. Play the game. Because you're the one to be wicked. I had to write your application. You had nothing in your head, and you find some other person for try to gangster me. No, wrong buddy. I would have fixed you and fix you right.
Of course,
never leave the country.
One of our viewers is reminding me that Christians shouldn't be in common law relationships period. Fully agree with that, Tyrone?
Once it's against God's natural course of things, yep.
Okay, all right. So we coming to the close. It's been lively, it's been very nice. Let's see where we at. So I'll go around. So Samantha, you were saying under no circumstance would you be okay with a transactional type visa wedding where money is being exchanged.
That's correct. Unless they're paying a dowry for me, I am not. I am not. I am not in agreement with a transactional type of wedding where it has money for benefits. It's not even my question, though, Nancy. It's not even a marriage because the two sides of the whole arrangement is money for visa, but it
Mm-hmm.
has to be done through this bridge, which is
Mm-hmm.
standing before man and saying these wedding vows or signing this
Right.
legal document. So can we even consider that as marriage?
Okay, I get you. Cleon, you were also saying that under no circumstance should it be entertained? Is it that it's good in the sight of God?
Under no circumstance should you sell yourself for a piece of card because the things that you think you may be enjoying are not guaranteed. Tomorrow is not even promised. Who tell you that the person who made you told you tomorrow is not promised? Don't be an idiot and believe somebody who might be struggling in a little rat hole in some country tell you, but them and give you a green card to come some way. Don't bother by the nonsense. Yeah. Bear your chief. You'll get more than a green card in the right time. Or you could just buy a card and color it green and still have a green card. You know. Just
Beatrice,
just saying.
Beatrice. Randy, you were also in agreement with Samantha and Cleon that under no circumstance should one enter
Oh,
into such an arrangement.
oh yeah, sure. And I like the question Samantha asked. Is it even a marriage? It's more of an arrangement. Um, if so to speak, you know what I mean? Because marriage, the only thing it probably has on marriage would be some sort of legal standing where you sign some paper or something at the start. But marriage is just
Hmm.
much more than just a legal um something, you know what I mean? It entails love and commitment and a whole host of other things with it. So Samantha rightly defining it is or asking the question, is it even a marriage? And to me, it's just an arrangement. So no, I agree with Samantha and Cleon. I will not, in no circumstances, I will go for an arranged marriage.
Okay, I hear you. And Tyrone, they left you all alone, Tyrone, as the one person saying, it's not necessarily so cut and dried. After you've listened, to the thoughts and the opinions of your fellow panelists, do you still, retain your own position?
I'm a lone soldier. Samantha would know that I don't need community to stand by me. I stand on my own 2 feet. Even the entire world is against me. Can be whoever it is. Once I am convinced of something, the only person that can change that is God, through wisdom. And I'll say the scenario painted up front at the top of the show is where money is passed. And as Cleon said, it's illegal. If it's illegal, then I can't agree with it. However, however, the person that I'm connecting the individual with is a person of principle, and I would put it on the table, and I would say to them, you know what, this is the case. He wants to do money. He wants to pay for whatever, pay for the visa. He wants to pay for the visa. In my opinion, according to the law, that's illegal. And you're a Christian, so you can stand around. You never know what can come out of it. So you can still talk to the guy to see where God will lead it and where it will go. But to shut it down immediately and say, no, I'm not going to make any connection, I can't agree with that. It's not a cut and dry yes or no response for me. It's more for me. It's more of a mediation kind of something, because I will leave my brother to find somebody who's in agreement with what he wants to do, and he might end up in jail. So it's my way of helping out my brother to change his mind from basically the 10,000 the illegal business. So it's more of a mediation or intervention stuff for me than just cut and dry. No.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Samantha, Cleon, Tyrone, Randy. Thank you for taking time out to, from your busy schedules to sit down with us at the Georgetown TL, share your views, share your thoughts with our audience. Thank you guys out there for your comments. You've been very brisk tonight. You've been very attentive. You've been, busy in the comment stream. We want to thank you for that. Keep still, even when we leave here, do continue to share the broadcast. For those who would have joined us after we would have gone live, thank you for staying true. All right. And do join us next week for another program, for another conversation at the Georgetown Tea House. Guys, good night. And thank you so much for being here. See you all
Good
next
night.
week.
Good night.
Bonsoir. Buenas noches.
Examine any profound event in the Bible or in the history of Christianity, and one is sure to recognize the consistently pivotal role of conversational interactions. We see this at play in Genesis, the first book, where through a series of conversations we witness the fall of our species and the expulsion from the Garden of Eden. The conversation between God and man, the conversation between man and woman, the conversation between the woman and the devil, and so on. At the Georgetown Tea House, we know the great importance and pivotal role that conversations often play in our lives on this earth. And thus, we will seek to engage in the types of conversations that are insightful, stimulating, and thought-provoking. And yes, occasionally a trifle boring. Our hope is that with each visit to the tea house, we can become better aware of who we are, of our relationship with God, and where we stand with each other and the rest of humankind. And yes, through it all, there will be music. For music, it had been written, is the food of love, and God is love. Join us every Monday evening on Facebook and YouTube Live for conversation